Good morning. Hope you're having a great weekend, a great holiday. This is the weekend where we celebrate telling England to go fuck off. It is Saturday, July 2nd, 4:40 a.m. Mountain Daylight Time, local time here in the state of Wyoming. I just crossed the border into Wyoming not too long ago. I'm on I-90 eastbound, making my way to Oklahoma City. I'm deadheading to the house. 1,400-mile deadhead. But, I got paid $6,100 to go from Seattle to Bozeman, Montana. So that's going to cover my cost to go ahead and drive the rest of the way to my house. Anyway, what I want to talk about in this video is AB5. Uh, Maybe I'll make a driving video after this one where I talk about, my normal business stuff, talk about, what I'm getting paid on the load, why I'm deadheading 1,400 miles and stuff like that. But in this video, I want to kind of stick to AB5 because I want to try to bring some awareness to it. Because I think that I've done a couple of videos mentioning AB5 and the PRO Act and stuff like that. And I'm just still amazed at how many people in this industry have no idea that AB5 exists. So this is yet another attempt to bring some more awareness to AB5. So what is AB5? AB5 is it's not necessarily a reclassification. It's more of a clearer definition of existing classifications on whether or not you are an employee, a W-2 employee, or an independent contractor. It more clearly defines who can be an independent contractor or who has to be an employee. It was sold to the voters of California as helping gig workers. So they had a huge marketing campaign in California a few years ago, and they said that these poor gig workers that get to work whenever they want for however long they want, wherever and whenever they want, these poor people are getting exploited, and we need to force Uber and Lyft and DoorDash and all these places to make them employees so that they can get benefits. So all the voters of California were like, oh, people are getting exploited. Yeah, let's vote for it. And they voted it in. The gig workers protested it. They tried to inform the voters that, it was, they were not being exploited and they enjoyed what they were doing. And that this had nothing to do with improving their lives. It had to do with tax revenue. Because the state makes a lot more money off of people that are classified as employees than they do on independent contractors, because independent contractors get a lot more tax cuts. They get a lot more write-offs than W-2 employees. W-2 employees don't get any write-offs. So California expected that they were going to get a lot more tax revenue by passing AB5. And, voters are stupid. They believed the propaganda and they voted it in. Well, it went to the courts. There were several lawsuits and there was an injunction put on AB5 and it never went into effect. It was never, it is a law. It's been signed by the governor and all that stuff. It is a law, but it cannot be enforced because there was an injunction that was put on by a judge because of a lawsuit. And they've been fighting it in the court system ever since then. So who does this impact? Well, before I say who it impacts, let me say what it impacts. If you are an independent contractor, let's say you work for a daycare and you're not a W-2 employee, you're an independent contractor. Well, if you are performing the same type of business as who you're contracted to, if you're both working in the same type of business, you now have to be an employee. You cannot be an independent contractor. So if you're a real estate agent and you hire a landscaper, that landscaper can be an independent contractor. But if you are a real estate broker and you have a brokerage and you have like a dozen agents that are contracted to you, real estate agents are almost all independent contractors. Then now all of those real estate agents have to be employees because you're both operating in the same business. If you're a trucking company and you have drivers leased to you as independent contractors, you can't do that anymore. They have to be W-2 employees because you're both involved in trucking. If you're in two different business types, then you can have independent contractor relationship. But if you're both involved in the same type of business, you have to have an employee-employer relationship. However, California exempted certain industries. Real estate agents were exempted. This law does not affect them. Gig workers, the original group that the propaganda machine sold the voters on that they were helping, have an exemption. It does not affect gig workers. Athletes, coaches, does not affect them. Journalists, photographers have been trying to get an exemption. Nope, it is going to affect journalists and photographers. Most journalists, most photographers are independent contractors. And that business relationship is ended. They have to be W-2 employees now. I don't have the complete list of everyone that California gave exemptions to. But what's going on with this law right now? They were trying to get it, the law repealed or shut down by the court system based on a technicality. And they failed. At every level of the court system, it got rejected. And their last hope was the Supreme Court. And they waited around for several months for the Supreme Court to make a decision on whether or not they would take on the case. And just a couple of days ago, the Supreme Court rejected the case. They said that they're not going to take it on. There are laws or regulations in place that state that no state can implement any kind of law or regulation that negatively impacts commerce in other states. And that is exactly what this does. I'm not sure if anybody took that to court, but if they did and they lost, then they had absolutely horrible lawyers that were borderline incompetent, because this is going to shut down the economy when it goes into effect in a few days. Why is it going to shut down the economy when it goes into effect? Almost all of the port workers are independent contractors. They're going to have to cease operations in a couple of days when the injunction falls off. When the injunction is lifted and this law goes into effect in just a couple of days, the ports are going to shut down. Sage News, if I remember correctly, said that something like 60% of all freight in the United States comes in through California, comes in through the ports. So transportation in California is going to shut down in a few days. I know that there are companies like, CR England or Swift or whoever that are thinking that they're going to be able to make tons of money off this. It's going to be amazing for them because now all the independent contractors can't haul freight in California. So they're going to be able to clean it up over there and just make all the money. Well, they can't haul enough freight to move all the stuff out of California. So their business is going to suffer. Yeah, places like that are going to be able to make a lot of money on loads going in and out of California, but they're going to suffer across the rest of the country because of freight just not being able to move out of California. To give you an idea, a lot of freight in places like Dallas and Kansas City and Chicago originates from California. It comes in from the ports, and they take the container and either load the container right onto a rail or a truck, or they take it over to a warehouse and move it out of that container into a normal trailer, and they put it on a rail or on a truck, and then it goes from there to Dallas or Kansas City or Chicago, and it gets moved into a different trailer at a warehouse or something, or it gets moved over to a different truck, and it just keeps moving through the supply chain that way. So this does not just affect California. A huge amount of products that we use in this country comes from Asia, and most of that freight goes through California. And in a couple of days, a large amount of not employees, of independent contractors involved in transportation are going to have to cease operation. So these mega carriers that think this is, awesome for them, they're going to be sending people over there to pick up amazing paying loads in California. And then they're going to get over there to the warehouse, and the warehouse is going to be like, yeah, we're going to have to cancel the load because we couldn't find anybody to pull it out of the port. This is going to cause a huge the issues we've had in the supply chain for the last couple of years are going to be nothing compared to what's about to happen when AB5 goes into effect, which is why I can't fathom that they were not able to win this case. This is going to disrupt the entire economy of the United States. This could disrupt the world economy. And they weren't able to win that case. That's illegal for a state to implement a law like AB5 that is going to negatively impact the rest of the country's economy. And these idiots in these courts, I think that they tried to argue that, and there was just like somebody in the California government was like, "No, it's going to have a negligible impact," and they just left it there. They're just like, "No, it'll have a negligible impact," and that was it. That was the end of it. That was the end of that discussion. Was just some government employee or some government official in California just said it would have a negligible impact on the economy, and they just left it at that. This is going to, I don't know why this is not mainstream news. I don't know why this is not being talked about 24 hours a day in the news cycle. This is huge. This is absolutely massive. The supply chain is about to stop in a couple of days if everybody obeys the law. Maybe people are just going to ignore it and they're just going to keep hauling loads. I honestly, right now, they don't know how in the hell they're going to enforce it. DOT does not enforce tax code. This is something that would be enforced by, I don't know, some type of tax agency in California. So originally, it was thought that the AB5 only affected people that lived in California, people that had a residence in California. So if you have a California CDL, then it affects you. That's what people originally thought. But somebody with the California Truckers Association, a representative with them that's directly involved with the lawsuit against AB5, said that it affects any independent contractor doing business in California. So if you're going into California to pick up a load or deliver a load, as soon as you cross the border into California, you are under California laws and regulations. And if you're an independent contractor working under, a company that's in the same business, then you're illegal. You can't legally do business in California. That's what he said. Right now, people are really confused about this law, and they're not really sure exactly how it impacts them. People are scurrying right now. I think people were caught off guard. They didn't think that the Supreme Court would reject this because of how big it is. And I think a lot of people didn't think that it would last through the court system this long. They thought it would be struck down by the courts because of how ridiculous it is and how impactful on the economy it is. So right now, a lot of people have been caught off guard and they don't know what in the hell is going to happen. If it's true that independent contractors can no longer haul freight in and out of California, then Landstar is probably going to ban loads in and out of California. When AB5 first passed, Landstar banned anyone with a California driver's license from leasing to them. They gave them, a short amount of time to get a driver's license in a different state, or they terminated their contract. So, people that were leased to Landstar that were living in California, they went and got residency in Nevada or Arizona or Oregon or somewhere else, and they changed their CDLs over to those states. But now we're hearing that it affects every independent contractor doing business in California, not just the ones with residency in California. So that is huge. That is absolutely massive if that's true. If you cannot do business in California as an independent contractor, just think about this. Just think if you're a web developer. Just think if you are an IT person and you live in Texas or something. You can't work on servers in California anymore. You cannot have any kind of business interaction in California if you operate under that independent contractor model that's now illegal in California. Do you get what I'm saying about how big this is? This is huge. Like, independent contractors cannot have business relationships of any kind with California anymore. But, right now, everybody is really confused as to exactly what this means and how it's going to impact everything. Um, so, what I'm hearing right now is what I just told you, that independent contractors that live outside of California can no longer do business with California. But I didn't hear about that until a few days ago. Up until a few days ago, what I was being told was that it only affected you if you were an independent contractor with a California CDL or you were a California resident. If you were a California resident and you were an independent contractor, it affected you. But if you lived in another state and you did business in California, you were unaffected. You could still continue to operate there without issue. So, like, I mean, even if it only affected California residents, it would still be a big issue. But if it is truly affecting every independent contractor doing business in California, then that makes it a much bigger problem. I am not a good source of information on the details of what's going on here. I highly recommend that you check out the Asian My Show. He's doing interviews with people directly involved in the court case. Sage News did a video on it. I haven't seen much of any coverage in mainstream media on it. Freight Waves, Landline, the trucking media has been covering it. But I suggest that you go out and you do some research on it, because this is going to affect everybody. If you work, I don't care what you do. If you're unemployed, it's going to affect you. This is going to affect the products that are available to you on store shelves. This is going to be a massive impact on the supply chain. It's going to dwarf everything. Every supply chain disruption that's happened up to this point is nothing in comparison to what's about to happen. But right now, everybody is really confused as to what exactly is going to happen when this goes into effect. Are people just immediately going to park their trucks? Like, what are people going to do? Are people just going to ignore the law and they're just going to keep hauling freight? Nobody knows what's going to happen. I don't know. It's absolutely crazy. I can't believe California passed this law in the first place, and I can't believe the court system didn't strike it down. I can't believe the Supreme Court wouldn't even review the damn thing. Like, it's just, I'm dumbfounded by the whole thing. I don't think many people realize how many independent contractors there are in this country. This country would grind to a halt if all independent contractors stopped working. So, I don't know. This video is just to bring awareness. If there's a few people that watch my channel that don't happen to watch one of the other channels that's covering it, then I'm trying to make sure that those people are aware of what in the hell is going on. It is going to affect you. You need to be aware of it. It's going to have a very big impact on the entire country, not just California. So I think I'll wrap up this video right there, and then I'm going to immediately start making one of my normal driving videos where I talk about what's going on with me. But I wanted to keep this one on topic with AB5, because I just cannot believe how little coverage this is getting in the media, and how many people have no idea of its existence. They don't know anything about it. Like, it just blows my mind that people are oblivious of AB5. So anyway, good luck to you. Hope you're having a great holiday weekend. Fuck England. All that good stuff. Bye.